Okay, with Ben Hamilton, Sitka's Hidden Wonders is the 43-minute short film. It's a documentary environmental. What's Sitka's Hidden Wonders? What's this film all about?
Sitka and Wonders is my attempt to share, I guess, a deeper perspective of what makes this small town on the coast of Alaska so special. I've been filming up here for about 16 years, and I decided a couple of years ago I wanted to make a film that would give specifically the target audience of tourists coming to town like different insight into this place and show them a lot of stuff that they would never get the chance to see. Um, and it's a little bit of like a love letter for me back to this place since it's helped shape my career and showed me, I don't know, so many incredible things about how life really works.
So you brought it up in the blog interview where I actually we just had some friends who were just on an Alaskan cruise, like literally I think they're there right now, and they
Yeah.
go to this area on the Alaskan cruise. They drop them off. Um,
Yeah, so Sitka is a small town on the outer coast of Southeast Alaska. It's on an island called Baranof Island. We get about 650,000 tourists come through every summer. The population's only 8,000. We got less than 30 miles of road, and 90% of them probably just walk around town and don't get to see very much of this incredible place. They just shop and, do the kind of tourist thing. But yeah, this place is magic if you like take some time and, get out to actually see it. But it's hard for a lot of people to do that. So we
sure, because
wanted to
they have
create
a
a
certain
film.
the boat has a time, right, where they
Oh
take
man, you arrive in town at 10 a.m. You take a bus to town. You're in town at 11. You
yeah.
got to be back on board at 3:30. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Okay, so are you from Alaska originally?
No, grew up in Texas. Went to school at the University of Texas at Austin. Was planning to do filming in LA, all that stuff, and was in the film program and really wanted to go backpacking in Alaska one year. And I ended up writing emails to a bunch of organizations across the state and a small conservation organization called the Sitka Conservation Society in Sitka wrote me back. They said, "Yeah, come on up, and we'll get you making some films for us." And they were doing a lot of really really remote work north of here in a bunch of wilderness areas and kayaking and doing invasive species monitoring. And um, so I spent my whole summer kayaking around wilderness and making a film for them, and totally kind of like switch went in my brain like, oh my God, I didn't even know this was a thing that people could do, was make wildlife films. And so I spent all 4 summers of my college going up there. And then as soon as I graduated, I kind of dove into that world and ended up getting in with National Geographic and some stuff from some footage I got up here, which kind of set me on that path.
That's amazing. What because you said you wanted to backpack like originally you're a teenager. Why Alaska? You're from Texas. It seems like the exact opposite. If you name two states that are exact opposite of each other, it would be Alaska and Texas.
I don't know if I agree. Yeah, in that sense,
I'm
many,
just
many, many
I'm just trying to
Texas,
hype up
yeah,
your
somehow end up in Alaska. I,
yeah.
I think like, you know, um, I had been going up to Colorado to do backpacking trips in my summers, like with high school buddies, and it was epic, and I just love wild places, and there's nowhere like bigger and wilder than Alaska, and so I kind of done Colorado, I think 2 or 3 summers, and I was ready to up the ante, and all my buddies were like, "No, we're good,"
So
and so
you went
then I
by
was
yourself?
well, then I was like, well, if my buddies aren't going to go, I got to find a way to like get this paid for or something. And so then that's when I just started writing people saying, "Hey, I'm a filmmaker. Can I make a movie for you guys?" And somehow get paid to go up there. And somebody wrote me back. So yeah,
That's smart, man. That's really clever that you did that. And you're at University of Texas while this was happening.
yeah, it was my freshman year. So like I was finishing up my freshman year, and I just started writing a bunch of orgs. And this little conservation org in Sitka, who had helped protect the first citizen-initiated wilderness in the '60s, um, wrote me back saying, "Yeah, will you make a movie about how we protected this place?" And I was like, "Sure." And we'll pay for you to fly up, but you're going to be on a kayak and, kind of like live in the tent life a little bit. And I was like, "Sweet. That's what I want to do." So, yeah.
Well, that like that's something that probably someone your age probably doesn't want to do, like at that time didn't want, many people didn't want to do, right? So without your cell phone in the wilderness, kind
You
of
know, I
taking,
don't know. Yeah, yeah, I guess so. I'm sure there's people who'd want to do it. I think there's a level of like, I don't know, self-initiation you got to do for some stuff. I was always a little bit of a more driven kid than some other kids, though. So
what did your parents think about your travels?
yeah, I think they thought it was kind of crazy. I'm not sure they were convinced that film was like a
Yeah,
productive,
sure.
thing to do at all. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of skepticism of, um, shouldn't you get a corporate job? Kind
Yeah,
of, what,
it's the
like,
unknown, right? Yeah.
yeah, I think it's more of the classic kind of art versus, well, don't you want to be something stable?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was kind of like, no, this is what I want to do. Yeah.
This is
There's
what
so
you've been
much risk in
doing.
this career. I mean, it's like you never know the next job. I mean, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
Which is good and bad, right? Like it's exciting, but it's also a little bit stressful as well, right? So,
I think it just takes a different personality. There's like my friends who are in the military or who are a doctor, and like they need to know what like the next
mm.
12 years looks like before they take a step forward. I'm definitely not like that. And so I think this suits me, but it's definitely not for everyone.
Are you settled down? Like, are you married? And
Yeah, so now I've got two kids and I'm married, and
yeah.
my wife spent my wife and I we spent, I don't know, more than 10 years working together running a production company. And so we traveled all over the world filming together, and then once we had kids, we were like, I think we gotta tone it down. COVID also shifted a lot of things, but
Mm.
um yeah, so I've got a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old now. And we live in Texas half the year still, and then we live in Alaska the other half.
That's
So
amazing. What's a
yeah.
bigger state, like size wise? Is it
Oh,
Texas?
Alaska. It's like,
Is
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. They always joke like there's more like coastline, like there's more space in the just tide zone of Alaska than there is in all of Texas. Like, it's Alaska's enormous.
Yeah. It's an interesting history too, right? I'm Canadian, so it's like
Yeah.
it's an interesting like how that became a state. That's just so it's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, and there's a lot of layers. I mean, here in Sitka, it was like one of the major hubs for the Russians being here, and it's a huge, Russian town, and wars that they had with the Tlingit people here, and all the otter industry, and then the logging that they did, and then they left. Just the impact of the ecosystem, like the impact on the people who were here. I mean, it's a complicated history, and but it's also like super rich with history, and it's obviously one of the last, I mean, truly, truly wild places that we have.
Would you ever want to make like a kind of macro film about Alaska and like the history and
I'll say that this film for me was a good example of like kind of doing the opposite of that and saying like I want to do something super niche and super place oriented, and we show it. So like I run this as a business, and so I leased out the only theater in Sitka that's in downtown for this year and then next year. Um, and I show the film every day to tourists who come to town. And I've been amazed like the emotional connection that people have when they see it in a place that, they're in a theater, it's in surround sound, but to like get to learn about a place in a place, is a different thing than like you and I watching something about Australia or
yeah.
Madagascar, and that's all I've done my whole career is like make some big film about some other place that it's far away, and when you do that, you have to have everything as a superlative. It has to be like, well, we got to show the best thing or the biggest thing or the craziest thing and I think with this film, I really enjoyed getting to kind of be like, it's about showing them even subtle things that are about this place that are so unique. And so I don't know. I don't think that I would want to make like the definitive Alaska film or something.
Yeah.
It'd be a daunting thing. I mean, I've enjoyed getting to like soak in a place at a level that is rare to be able to do, and I have so much time here, so many years here that I have other films I'm already like kind of thinking about
Yeah.
this place. Um, Yeah.
So it's interesting that you're just talking about. I want to touch on that on the theater in a second because I just came from Ottawa, which is I don't know if you've ever been there before, but it's like it's all about his museums. It's almost like like Washington D.C. or whatever. Like it's the
Yeah.
nation's capital, so there's so many museums. I literally just got back home like last night, and these all these museums have these movies. You go right. We have
Yeah.
kids like yourself, and they watch these movies, kind of like this movie that you're showed at our festival and it has like kind of like a niche kind of portrayal of what the context of the museum, and it's sort of like how you described how you're showing this in the theater for I guess tourists can go watch it or like I'm
Yeah.
assuming, and it's has that kind of context of where they are, right? And there's a I'm assuming there's a market there. And I was just thinking about it yesterday, like, oh, there's this market of these filmmakers, and you just now I'm talking to you, and you seem to be doing exactly what I was thinking about yesterday.
I mean, I think, I don't know about, are you a filmmaker as well? Or like, how are
Back
you?
in the day, but now this is what I
Yeah.
do now full time. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, the industry is not in the best place.
yeah,
I don't know about the people, like, I don't have a lot of friends who are like killing it right now. I mean,
yeah,
everyone that, I think the spread out of eyes, the spread out of ad money, the kind of like boom and bust we had of like everybody wanting to build a streaming platform and then that going away,
yeah,
like has put the industry in a position where like everybody's like out of work. And I mean, tons of people I know at least are out of work. And I think that a couple of years ago, I mean, it was a risk because I self-funded this film, but I was like, you know what? I want to try something kind of crazy and I want to like build an ecosystem around this thing. And one reason that I decided to do that was because I'd seen like a handful of companies that were still doing well and they're like in this kind of like IMAX space. Like they and the whole thing is like you need ticket sales and like the
yeah,
only people who are still paying for tickets are people at high-end museums. And, I mean it's like you go to some major museum and they've got Into the Arctic or Beneath the Waves,
yeah, yeah,
some like IMAX
yeah,
film. And so
exactly.
I felt like I had an opportunity here. I was like, I know more about this place than a lot of people do. I have one of the largest archives in Southeast Alaska from all my work up here. And, I felt compelled that I could share a side of it that was more personal and had more heart than a lot of people would do. Because, if you just commission somebody to do a film like this, I mean, there's amazing stuff here. And, you could do that. And I think a lot of those products kind of end up like that. And they kind of end up being like these generic that and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm really happy with the gamble that I made because it's taken a full summer to like get it building. But I don't know. I mean, we've got hundreds of 5-star reviews online and people walking out every day crying and buying merch and like planning to come back next year after they see the film and want to go out with me on a guide, or we're talking about doing filmmaking workshops next year. And so it's just allowing us to kind of build this
Yeah.
thing. And ideally, right, it sets up a world where we can make another film and then like put it there too, which would kind of be this allow me to have my own distribution platform in this weird way.
That's amazing. Like, but even the way you talked about like when you were in a freshman, you do have that kind of entrepreneurial kind of business brain,
For
right?
sure.
Where like you
Yeah.
kind of you can kind of see the patterns of what you can do with this film. Was that your intent when you started making this film? Were you
Oh yeah.
thinking that far ahead, or
Yeah. I mean, it was all like yeah. I have done, I always tell people that I've kind of been like a craftsman filmmaker for most of my career, like gun for hire in the sense, like I haven't done many of my own projects. And it's mainly been because I'm like, I don't know how to pay for this if I don't have somebody paying me. And I've
sure,
done a lot of films where they allowed me to have my voice in it or they allowed me to have a lot of influence. But I mean, I don't know, 50 or 70 films front to end, short films, long form films, visitor center films, like, but you're just doing client work. And I think I was like, well, if I'm going to do my own thing, like I better see the alignment of like how to make money, how to be passionate about it, how to line it all up, like, and that this was a risk that I was at least willing to take and say, like, I think this could work. There's so many people who come through here. This could be like a really special, like, I, I, I feel like in today's world with travel, mass travel, like there's so little authenticity in it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're on a
You get
4,000
caught in a
passenger boat.
tourist trap. Yeah.
You get on a bus, you get like crowded to some like tourist thing that like, and we have some decent attractions here in Sitka, but there's still just like not enough things that are like actually cool to do for large groups. And I didn't know, like, is it easy to get 200 people off the street? Oh, there's 8,000 people in town. It should be easy. It's like, it's actually pretty hard. We've learned, like without online presence, without integration with the cruise
Mhm.
ships. And so, you know, all the effort that we put into the film for 2 years of like full-time work, I thought that was going to be kind of the hard part, to be honest with you. And I thought, oh, well, at least just like we got a great location in downtown in the heart of town. They
Yeah.
drop everyone off right there. Everybody walks by. Like, um, that's been the journey, And so like all summer, it's been like the hustle of like, I mean, I've been at the booth every day for almost every screening, which is a totally weird thing, Like I'm literally at the film, like talking to people, selling it, doing Q&A after, but it's all been in an effort to build reputation, connections with locals, businesses, and then the cruise lines. Next year, I don't know that I'll be able to, I'm probably not going to do that. And it's not necessarily like the best use of my time, but it's like this summer, it was important to kind of like put in the time for that.
That's such an interesting story. It's amazing. And yeah, like listen, I know firsthand. It's tough to get people engaged, right? It's like because everybody, like especially these days, right? Where like they only have a certain amount of time. Like you said, they have 4 hours to be there. Do they want to go inside? And also can they watch it online? I'm sure you've been asked that
Oh,
before.
just every day. That's it. I mean, you just get the question like, can I just like, or they're like, oh, I saw this on the ship or something. You're like, you didn't see this on the ship. It
Yeah.
doesn't play anywhere else. But it's yeah, lots of profiling you start doing. Like, is this the kind of person that would like be curious? What we've learned is that like the audience that's really become the bread and butter of our business has been the small ships, the higher end naturalist ships. Lindblad has their own ships, Uncruise, Dream Cruise, Seabourn. I mean, there's all these ships where the people are coming to Alaska to see and understand. They have naturalists on board. That's a real different audience than like the Royal Caribbean audience, and those people often, because their boat prioritizes it, are getting to see the amazing stuff on the boat. And so when they come to town, they're more like curious about the place. If you just are in a floating casino a little bit, like or a floating giant, like cafeteria. I mean, the cruise ships they're huge now and they get
Yeah.
4,000 people. You're hoping during that 4 hours that you're going to see Alaska and all of its amazing things in those 4 hours. But unless you book some excursion that you're going to pay a lot of money for to go out, in Sitka on a boat or something, you're
Yeah.
not going to see it. I mean, and so there's that. It's a hard sell. Like, but what we've learned is that if somebody recommends it, if they get off the boat and their bus driver says, if you do one thing in Sitka, go to that movie,
Yeah.
people do it. I mean, like that old school word of mouth is so real.
Endorsements. Yeah.
And that has taken this entire summer,
Mm.
5 months of being up here.
Yeah.
But now that so many of the bus drivers, everyone, and the coffee shop owners and the tour operators have seen it, it's like awesome because like you're just sitting there and like in May it was just like pulling your eyes out. I mean, it's brutal, just 8,000 people walking by and you're like, hey, do you guys want to watch a movie? No, just hey, do you guys, I mean, you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out what's the hook, how do I make this work? And now it's like, yesterday we get all of a sudden like 30 people walk up, 40 people walk up for a showing, and we got 5 showings that day, and it's just like a wall of people, and they're excited about it because they heard about it from someone. They're buying t-shirts. They come out of the movie, they're like impassioned about it. They want to do Q&A. And so it's like it's awesome in that sense, but it's been slower to get here than I thought.
Yeah, well, it's trial and error, right? Like you're learning, it's something new that you're learning, and it's a niche kind of situation
Totally.
too. So there's hard to have, like for myself, you're looking for context, you're looking for examples of someone doing what you're doing. But if nobody's doing it, it's you got to do a lot of trial and error, right? So
And there's that whole thing with every business, right? Where you're like, you have the people who are like, I had that idea because the theater's
sure.
sat empty for a decade
Yeah.
during the daytime hours. Oh, I'm a movie maker. And it's like, I really think that people don't understand how much work like something like this
No,
takes.
of
'Cause
course not.
you have to
Yeah.
make the movie and then once you make the movie, then there's this whole thing. And now like that we're coming that, the season ends in mid-September. And so everything that we're doing now moving forward is like, trying to lay the groundwork for next year. And it's film festivals and I'm touring and trying to fly to different places. We're trying to set up private screenings. We're trying to like, get into a lot of schools. And so like next Tuesday, we've got two of the big schools are coming in town and they want to kind of build it into their
Yeah.
ecology program. And so, I mean, there's all that stuff that like, it's kind of like, okay, now that we can pause for a minute, like how can we connect more people and um, better lay the groundwork for next year, I guess.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about. I want to talk about your film before I leave you, because we've been talking about like obviously distribution a lot, but it's a it's a great film, and it surprises me on so many levels. Where like, oh, and then all of a sudden it's like I think it's like around the 20-minute mark is when the bears come. It's like, and it's some beautiful shots, and I love the open. I love how you established that shot where like you're shooting it, like your character, and
Yeah.
then there's a shot of you shooting, and then all of a sudden the bear pops up, and it's like, oh, look at all we've seen so many amazing animals and so much nature, and it's all of a sudden it's like there's something about the bear. I don't know what it is, and how many days of shooting did you did they get to 43 minutes? Because the bears just don't show up like this. These animals don't show up when you want them to, obviously, right? So there's been a
Yeah.
lot I'm talking about talk about trial and error. I'm sure there's a lot of waiting, hurry up the waiting.
Yeah.
And
Like we put in more than 100 days of production in the main year we filmed in the field. I would say, and then the next year we put in, I don't know how many, like another maybe 50 or 60, but it probably close to 200 days in the field. Um, I would say that I also was sitting on an archive of 16 years of filming up here. And so like that bear sequence, we shot the vast majority of that a few years back. I did like a 2 week, shoot with the same guy who helped me shoot this. And um, all the bears do congregate. And so of all the sequences, to be honest, like that one probably took the least amount of time. The herring sequence, for example, that happened at the beginning of the movie with the
yeah,
whales bubble net feeding. I mean, we spent 42 days on the water just for that sequence, and it's like a four
wow.
minute sequence. And so the final edit project had 1,200 hours of footage in it. Um, and that was, yeah, like, but again, like, I roughly knew the story I wanted to tell. I also roughly knew that, I mean, I love that you said that you love the Bears. The awesome thing about the film is that everyone walks out of the theater and says a
Different
different
things.
part.
Yeah.
It's like it's and just as you were so convincing and how you love that,
Yeah.
people walk out and say, "Oh my God, the microscopic sequence, yeah," or "Oh my God, the puffins, I love," and it's
The underwater is, I'm sure you get a lot of rave reviews about the underwater sequences, right?
totally. I mean,
Yeah.
underwater stuff for sure. I mean, nobody sees that here, right? I mean, even the people who are on the highest end naturalist ship and they did see bears and they saw whales bubble nut feeding, they're not diving, most of the time.
Yeah.
And so, um, I mean, there's some real intention in there because it's like the goal is in 40 minutes. When you know your audience, it's nice, right? So for this film, like in 40 minutes, how can I take you on an awesome ride,
Mhm.
basically? And how can I take you for the first half of the film through, I guess what I'd call like the expected Alaska experience, like the whales, bears, puffins.
Mhm.
And then how can I spend the second half of the film showing you a side of it that like you're not expecting and try to connect you to it in a way that's different. And so like, roughly we knew that this was going to be the goal when I did the film, but um I think the edit was more of a grind than the shooting. I mean, every day you're waking up like loving life and you're shooting this stuff. At least for me, it's like a
Yeah.
I
This is the
I
fun
was
part.
I was intentional that if I was going to do my own project and it was going to be about the wonder of life and about like the wonder of nature, that like I was going to shoot it in a way that I was going to love it. And like, after so many years of super high pressure shoots where you're like you have 7 days or 10 days and you have this super strict sequence you're supposed to come out with and you're like the animals aren't doing it for you. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to come into this and I'm going to like love every day of it. And like, we'll see what we see. And a lot of planning and permits and all that stuff, but you're still wanting to like, if you're not going to enjoy it, why why do it?
Yeah.
Um,
Is
yeah,
there was there any blowback or negativity from the community about what you've done?
not really. Like I've been really surprised how intensely locals like it. In fact, I think locals like it more than the travelers because I think they leave feeling super proud of this place. Like,
Yeah,
and you'd be amazed how many people like I think yesterday we had like over 40 people that came were local, bringing their families, bringing their visitors. And so we've become like a core thing that like people bring if they've got people visiting because I think people want to show off this place and it's really hard to see this stuff. Like we're on an island, you better have a boat and you better like be able to like weather's really rough here most of the time. And so what we show in the film is not something that the average person gets to just like, oh yeah, that's yesterday. It's like, it takes a lot of effort to get out to St. Lazare Island or to go see bears. Like, you know, um, it's kind of an intense thing. So yeah. I mean, there's nuance around how we connect with the Tlingit culture and the native people, but I wouldn't say we've had like massive blowback about it because I
no, I'm
think,
just curious because
yeah, I
like
don't know.
I'm from a tourist. I'm from Niagara Falls originally. Not the same
Yeah,
thing, but it's a tourist town, and
totally.
people are very sensitive about the portrayal of their city, right? So
I was super nervous about it, to be
yeah,
honest with you. But if you read our reviews online, it's amazing how many of them are locals being like,
yeah,
I think people in town here are so desperate. They're frustrated with tourism because mass tourism is like a big thing that takes over their town for half their year, and like
yeah,
to have a more personal and authentic approach to it is like people really appreciate that. Like they're like, oh, like this guy actually cares about this place, and he's
yeah,
like trying to convey it in a meaningful way, not just like some crew from somewhere else comes in and just makes a movie about this place so that's a profit line item, like
sure, yeah. And then, but it's a real good product. Like I'm sure there's some tacky merchandise that occur that people are trying to get money from the tourists, right? Where this is a
oh my God. I
genuine,
mean, there's definitely like a drive to the bottom in
sure,
tourism, right? I mean,
yeah.
and in every place, right? I
That's what I
mean,
mean.
like,
I
yeah,
totally understand, right? So,
yeah.
but
No, I
but
mean,
it's
my whole brand and our whole approach was like, how can we make it like feel like we actually cared and we did care and let's do it in a way like if we're gonna do merch, like let's make it super nice and let's make it about this place and let's do it about the art of this place. If we're gonna do a film, let's make it really special and like let's make it personal. And so like even like I've had to leave town once or twice this summer and like when I left, like I flew in my main cinematographer to be there so that like the audience, had someone from the film there that they could talk to about it and like I don't know, just try to give it that touch that's like lost in so many ways in tourism.
so yeah. So you go to your website. It's a great website, and it kind of shows the price points and the merchandising. And I'm assuming because you're talking to me, so you're sending it to festivals. You're trying to. What's the
Yeah,
motivation for
totally.
festivals? Just to get word of mouth?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an opportunity to like, you know, let other people see the film. It's a hard thing because from a financial standpoint, if you apply to 50 festivals, it actually costs like a decent amount of money to,
Yeah, yeah,
and so I think we do want to share the film, and we do want to like compete and see how other people think about it. But I'll also say that like we're lucky in the sense that like we have this whole distribution thing going up there and like we have this vision of how to do it in a way that like is kind of already set. And so I'm not like some film who's like maybe we'll get picked up and like because
yeah,
because I don't know. I honestly don't know if somebody, and you're a great person to ask this, but like it's such a place film and people have such an emotional connection to it here that I think people in other places do enjoy it. But the people who come out of the film here in the theater, it's like a really like impactful thing for them. And part of that I think is a theatrical experience and surround sound. And we mixed it in 7.2 and they've got a Dolby Atmos system in there. It's amazing.
yeah.
But they're always like, oh my God, I want to show this to my family in Florida. And I'm like, I think they'd like it, but I don't know. Maybe it would just sell them on coming to Sitka, but it's so different to then walk out and be like, oh, I'm here, and then see that place through new eyes. And so I don't know. I'm not like it's a weird length. I'm in this like brutal length of I'm at 43 minutes. It's like the cutoff for like shorts is at 40. So there's this whole like kind of technical side of that,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
like brutal for me. Like all these festivals are getting pushed into the feature category, and but for me, it's like it works for my format up here, and so I'm kind of like,
Well, you
let's
could,
share it around.
but there's different. like you can make it a 30-minute film, right? I know
Yeah,
that
totally.
you know what I
It would
mean?
just
Like
be
you
like,
could,
what's the advantage for me to do that in the amount of
yeah.
effort it would take,
Yeah, no, but I'm saying that there's so much there, right? Like it
Yeah,
maybe would kill you a little bit, but it could be a 25-minute film. There's so many opportunities.
yeah,
And like it's sort of like I'm like I said, I just because I just came to all these museums, it's sort of like you go to these nature museums and there's like a kind of an area about Alaska. This is the movie to watch, right?
yeah.
Right?
I'm
That
really guarded now about the theatrical experience. It's like I've never been able to show my films in the theater. I mean, everything's online or, on
yeah, well,
TV.
yeah,
And it's like I will say that like it's so cool to do it in a theater and it's so meaningful to do it in a theater. It's like
yeah,
I'm amazed how many people like if I show them the film not in a theater versus the theater, like when the subwoofer rumbles and the whale comes out of the water, it's like, oh my God, I'm there,
yeah.
So I don't know,
Well,
we've applied it
that's why in those museums with those beautiful theaters, it works really well, right? So,
exactly. Yeah.
but
But
that
even,
said,
like I'd have to feel, like would the Cincinnati, Ohio Museum play Sitka's Hidden Wonders? Like I think there's a marketing challenge with the name. I think I would probably have to soften the film. If somebody at a festival came up to me and said, Ben, like I really want to have wide distribution for this, and that there's some magical person who says, I'll help you pay for changing it and like modding it, but I think everybody needs to see this or something. I'm totally open to that, But I think in general, like what we're really trying to do is like have an opportunity to share it with audiences in a special way, continue to
yeah.
do that without kind of like just like letting it out of the gates and like, I don't gain anything really like putting it online at this point.
Well, you can
It's
charge, right?
I mean, I could charge for online, I could do like a Vimeo on demand or something
But
like
you
that, but
have like because you have the audience, right? So meaning that like you just give them a thing, okay, they can watch it online. You give them something like part of the
yeah,
program or whatever like that, and then they'll that's how the word of mouth spreads. And you charge like $2. You could do it yourself on your at your website.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That's stuff you could do that as well. But on the flip side, it's like you can also make it a feature film, right? You can kind of like you said, you have all that footage, right? And if you broaden the context, you broaden the thematics, and you try to make a like a grand point that's beyond Sitka,
yeah. I mean,
that
this film could be about Southeast Alaska, right? All these things that I'm
yeah,
showing. There's a lot that happens in Sitka that's niche. Obviously, the narrative is highly
that's what I'm saying. You
connected to
could
Sitka,
exactly you change
but
the narrative
but
to
it
a
wouldn't be
more
very hard. My
yeah,
original vision was, oh, maybe I do a three-part series out of this.
yeah.
And there's so much underwater stuff that we kind of didn't end up showing, and there's the microscopic stuff is crazy, and the underwater world we just like barely scratch the surface of in this film, and so I could see that becoming a thing down the road, like but I'll also say that like things are looking like I'll be able to fill that theater pretty aggressively next summer.
Yeah.
And so the motivation for that's low because people are going to be paying per ticket to do that. And I don't have to change it. This thing's pretty evergreen.
But
And
you
so,
talk about over, but you talking about like about this is your you got them in the palm of your hand. They're in your theater. So
yeah,
if you give them the form and say, hey, your friends can watch this too,
totally.
you
No,
got them.
that's the most common question I get. How do I buy a DVD? How do I stream
Exactly.
this? So,
Yeah.
I think and probably if I do something, it'll be a rental only. You can't buy it. The
That's what I'm
problem,
saying. Yeah. Like
yeah,
for two,
yeah,
$3. And then you did that's your new market, right?
yeah,
And you're making all that's all yours. Meaning that
yeah,
I'm sure you're making the theater is making a certain percentage of well, obviously, right? But that's the thing about online is that that's all yours. That's all your money.
yeah, yeah. No, totally. Yeah. I've been hesitant to do it because I have some other films that I've done in Southeast Alaska that like it's easy to get the licensing like run away from you. If you sell hard copies, like we used to sell hard copies of some
Yeah.
of these visitor center films, and then we find out like, oh, the ships are playing them, or and you're like they're not paying licensing and stuff, and so it's like it's super important, right, that I like
I
maintain
get it. I get it.
exclusivity around the film,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like I think in the rental format, it's the right format. But in the end, like I think the philosophy side of the film is really like what hits people the hardest, here, like the whole kind of just like living life with wonder. And I think that that's the thing that um beyond all the wildlife, like I think outside of Sitka, people think of that as a wildlife film, but I think when people are here, they're expecting the wildlife stuff because that's what's here. And then when they get hit with that side, they're like, oh, this is something a little bit more
Yeah.
special.
Well, great film. You got all kinds of ideas, all kinds of it's a no-brainer acceptance. I know your people film festivals can be weird. It's just that's laziness in my opinion. We're like, oh, it's 43 minutes. I don't have to watch it because it's, but that's just pure laziness and it's a great film and it's just so beautiful. It's like there like I said, there's artistry in inside of it and you know that too because people are telling you that. So yeah, it's there. It should play on. It should play online. It should more people to see it. I know you want you. I'm sure you want as many people to see it as possible. I'm sure that's it, but I'm sure you want to make a profit as well, right? Like, or
I'd like to just make my money back,
that, well, that's what
Step
I was
one.
going to say that. I thought you made your money
Yeah.
back. That's why I didn't say that. But basically,
Yeah.
but that's the main
Profit would
thing.
be great too, though. No, I mean, like, the game of making the money back is like
Yeah,
nobody thinks about that. Oh, can you just put this on Netflix? And it's like, like it's more complicated than that. I mean, that,
sure.
like it's
Well, that's
but
why I
I do
was thinking
think
about the feature film, like where like because
totally.
they want features, right? So.
And that's part of this whole festival thing. Like I would love to like get, if somebody at a festival or a network that's at a festival watches and they said, God, I really like this thing. I could see this as an X. I'd just love to like have that conversation because I know how different execs are. I mean, every exec has their own vision for like what their network needs. And I don't, and it's really, really diverse in that way. So, that'll be an interesting thing over the winter to see what those conversations look like. And if someone says, God, we want this film, but we need it in this format or length. And I'll say, yeah, well, then like, let's talk about that. But in the meantime, it's got to come to Sitka to check it out
Yeah.
for the next 2 weeks at
For the
least.
meantime, yeah. All right,
Yeah.
man. Well, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank
And
you. Yeah.
great film. And let's talk again soon when you make your next film.
Sounds good. Cheers,
Thanks.
bud.